This episode of Test Drive is brought to you by EV Duty.
We've featured a wide range of electric vehicles here on Test Drive over the past couple years. Full EVs like the Volkswagen e-Golf or Kia Niro EV. Long-range plug-in hybrid electric vehicles or PHEVs with larger capacity batteries and small gas engines for longer distance driving like the Honda Clarity or the Chevrolet Volt. And regular PHEVs with small batteries like the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV or Volvo S90 T8. But today we're looking at a long-range EV with a gas range extender. Our spotlight is on this 2020 BMW i3 with the range extender. This funky runabout has a 42.2 kilowatt-hour battery, a 170 horsepower electric motor, and a backup generator, which is a 640cc scooter engine. Now that engine doesn't actually drive the wheels, it just generates electricity for the battery, which is why this is a very unique vehicle in the growing market of electric cars. We're going to be going over absolutely everything you need to know about this cute little runabout. Now, unlike every other EV that we feature on Test Drive, we actually can't keep it running in the traditional sense while we're filming it. The accessory power is on, but as soon as you open the driver's door, the engine, the motor, shuts off. So you can't actually keep it running while you're filming, for example, like this. But let's talk about the i3. It's a vehicle we've had on our list for quite some time now. I know it's not necessarily the enthusiast's choice when it comes to a BMW, but there is a lot going on with this, and I do see them often enough here in Quebec, not all the time. Other EVs are much more popular, something like Tesla's vehicles. They do sell quite well here, but the i3 does have a lot going for it. It is a unique rear wheel, rear engine setup. So it drives the rear wheels and that little motor is sitting in the back of the vehicle. The front area, if you don't get the range extender, would be a larger area for storage. But on this, the front is a smaller storage area. In this case, they have the level 1 charger in there. And you also have the trunk area, which is decent enough. This is a subcompact luxury hatchback. I think BMW also calls it a mega city car. Now, BMW says that this is the first mass-produced car to use mostly carbon fiber reinforced plastic. A lot of the body panels and the frame is made out of this high-strength carbon fiber reinforced plastic. You can hear it. I mean, it's pretty much all plastic on the outside. As I mentioned, it uses a 647cc two-cylinder engine out of the BMW C650 GT Maxi-Scooter. It is a scooter engine, and all it does is charge the battery up so that you can continue to drive the rear wheels with the electric motor. It's not like the Chevrolet Volt where you can essentially reconnect the engine and use that. This will only power the battery so you can keep going. And it's only got a 9-liter tank, but here in North America, for some reason, they've limited it based on software to 7.2 liters. So very small engine. You can get about another 100 and so kilometers, 115 kilometers out of that gas motor. And depending on how you drive, you can go anywhere from about 200 to 250 kilometers fully electric. Now it's interesting, if you were to get the i3 without the range extender, the official numbers for total EV range is 246 kilometers. But with the range extender, it goes down to 203. That's partially because there's more weight. You have the engine and gas tank and everything else that needs to be added to this vehicle to create that generator system, but also it will not allow you to go down to 0-kilometer range before kicking on that gas motor. So while you probably still could do almost 246 kilometers fully electric, the system just won't allow you to do it. And there's no buttons on the inside or modes to be able to change it into, say, a charge mode. So if you are driving somewhere, you want to use up as much of the gas as possible for whatever reason, there really isn't a way to force it into that mode so that you're using the electric motor with the gas generator. It'll just do it automatically. That might not be a big deal for some people, but if you do want to use up the gas that's in there and be able to replenish it from time to time, you will have to drive it down normally. Now we do have a couple packages on this vehicle. For $2,500 comes with the driver assistance package. You get LED headlamps with cornering lights. In Europe, I believe they are adaptive headlights, but we just have the corner lamps here with automatic high beams, LED high beams as well. They'll work pretty well for a small vehicle like this. You also have Driving Assistant Plus, which adds forward collision warning, city collision mitigation, preventative pedestrian protection, active speed limit info, traffic jam assist, and route ahead assistant. Another feature you get with the driver assistance package is adaptive cruise control with stop and go. It's a nice little feature to have with this vehicle, though you do have to set the range, the distance between the front vehicle, each time you get into the car and start it up. The other package you get with this is the $3,500 premium package, adds front and rear park distance control, HomeLink, BMW connected drive, a 12-speaker, 360-watt Harmon Kardon audio system, comfort access, Sirius XM radio, and navigation. This also has the $900 BMW I Suite interior package, which adds the Albergia leather seating. You can have a cloth seat with this. They do also have two other trims, the I Lounge Solaric brown leather or the I Loft with cloth. Now the I Lodge package would be $350, but at $900 you do get the leather seats. You can option it if you want to. You don't necessarily need to, and I think if you're going for an eco perspective, people are probably going to skip that and go with just the cloth seats on here. There are a number of other options you could add to this. $350 for the wireless charging with extended Bluetooth, $300 for park assistant, $100 for the smokers package, and $1,200 for the glass sunroof. That would have been nice on this press vehicle. Aside from that though, the outside is, pretty simple. There isn't a whole lot going on with it. The front end looks kind of like a BMW. You do have the kidney grills. There are no grills in them. It's really just the outline. Same with the side trim along the vehicle. They have a blue accent to it to denote that this is a BMW i vehicle. And if you take a look back a number of years ago, we actually did feature the BMW i8. We didn't do a driving segment, but I did drive the car. It's impossible for somebody like me to get in and out of it. But this is somewhat similar technology, and it is the only other vehicle currently available as of filming this in BMW's i lineup. Now they've since expanded that a little bit, adding their plug-in hybrid electric vehicles into that fold, but when it comes to a full-out i vehicle, it's either this or the i8. And yes, for the price it is kind of expensive, just over $60,000 Canadian as configured. I mean, you can take off some of those options if you wanted to, but this does qualify here in Quebec for the full provincial and federal tax rebates, which means you can save $13,000 off the price of this vehicle, which isn't too bad. I mean, considering it is expensive, you do save quite a bit, bringing the price down to about $47,000. Definitely more manageable at that price point. But you do lose a lot. I mean, you're not getting a full BMW experience with this, but if you want an electric vehicle, it's not a bad option. It is unique. Now, there's some other unique design elements about this vehicle. The front doors are frameless windows, and they have half-door suicide doors on the back. They open the other way. And also, the handles to get into the front doors are reversed. Usually you pull them a certain way. These ones are the opposite. It's a very weird design, but I do like it. It's kind of like a coupe with those windows. They pop down when you open the door, and without the frames, it might be a little bit easier for you to get in and out of. And the rear seats with those suicide doors are actually pretty practical for people to get in, whether it's adults or children. My daughter has no problem getting in back there. Now, our test vehicle comes with the fluid black with BMW I frozen blue accents. There are a couple other options for this, but again, it is a plastic exterior, so you don't necessarily want to go all out, but there are a couple of different paint options. The black looks pretty good here. And then if you go up to the i3S, kind of has a sport appearance package that changes the outside look a little bit, flares the fenders on the back a bit. You can also add the sport package to this if you wanted to, but for the most part, I think this is what people will be looking for if they're really in the market for an electric vehicle. Out back, you have a lift gate. It's not power operated, plus all the lights in the back are integrated into a glass back area. Looks pretty nice bubbly design to it. Again, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, but as far as EVs go, it's different, it's unique, especially the way that it's set up. A rear-wheel drive electric car is pretty cool. The last thing to note on the outside here, this vehicle is equipped with the BMW I style 428 turbine rims. They are 19-inch rims. You can get 20-inch rims on this, but I think 19 is good enough. Again, it is supposed to be an electric vehicle. You don't necessarily need to have the biggest rims. You want it to be comfortable while you're driving it. Now let's talk about the inside. This comes with the 10.25-inch iDrive display, and as I mentioned, it does have navigation with that package along with the Harmon Kardon system. You also have wireless Apple CarPlay. The door panels on this vehicle are made out of hemp, which BMW says helps to lower the weight of them by about 10%. The dashboard is also made out of the same type of material. BMW also says that the environmental refined wood from certified cultivation in Europe is a way to make this car more eco-friendly. 80% of the surfaces on the inside of this vehicle come from recycled plastic, renewable or raw materials, and natural fibers. So it is a pretty environmentally friendly vehicle. Again, with the leather seating, not so much. You'll want to go with cloth or a synthetic leather, but in this case, they've optioned it here. I would prefer just having the cloth. Get rid of as much waste as possible and make it as eco-friendly as possible. Now, this is a four-seater vehicle. There is no third seat in the rear, so you can only fit 4 people in here. The seats are all manually operated. Front seats are heat, which is a nice thing to have. Single zone automatic climate control, and there's a good amount of storage space. They do have one built-in cup holder with a secondary cup holder that you can move from the front portion of the center console or into the center bin. You have a small armrest. That would be where the wireless charger would go. And for the most part, you kind of get what you're paying for in terms of an electric car. It is fully loaded for BMW, but when we look at something like the Kia Niro EV, it just had more features available. So it depends on what you want out of a car. But again, because this has a long-range EV, and we're saying that in the sense that 200 kilometers is still more than enough for what people need on a daily basis. Plus that range extender, you have a little bit more flexibility. I've been driving this over the past couple days. I haven't really had the need to plug it anywhere. I still do like to plug it in even if I don't necessarily need to. But the idea behind this, according to BMW, is being used as a city vehicle in the sense that you don't actually need to charge it every day. Let me know in the comments below how many kilometers you drive in a day and if a 204 kilometer range would be more than enough, especially with that small gas backup, just in case of an emergency. Now let's go on a road test. We'll talk about how this vehicle handles and performs and everything else you need to know about it. Again, it's not the i3S, so there is no sport mode, but we are going to be talking about the comfort mode, Eco Pro, and Eco Pro Plus modes, and everything else that you absolutely need to know if you're in the market for the BMW i3. Get the most out of your BMW i3 with the smart home charger from EV Duty. You can schedule and monitor everything from the smartphone app and even allow friends to use it if you have it outside. You can have a schedule set up for it. For more information about the smart home charger, visit elmec.ca. Something I noticed when I was filming the exterior comes to the lights. If the parking lights are on, the regular parking lights are on the back tailgate, but if you lift it up, it actually turns on a second set, turns off the ones from the tailgate, and puts on a lower set so that people can still see you if you're parked on the road. You've got the parking lights on. Obviously, you want to be safe. Really cool stuff. But now let's talk about how this vehicle drives, handles, performs, and everything else you need to know about it. The first thing you need to understand is how their new shifter system works. It's very different, and it'll take a little getting used to. It's a very meaty device that sits on the side of the steering column. You've got your park button up at the top, start stop button pointing towards you, and then you twist it in the direction that you want to go. It will take a little bit of getting used to. I do find that I'm still trying to remember which direction I need to go, even though it's right there, and even though it makes sense, you pull towards you to go behind you, right, this direction, and then you push away from you to go forward. It sort of makes sense, but it is a little different. And then the pedal, the acceleration pedal, is very, very different. If you're not used to it, make sure you understand how it works before driving it. It's not like any other EV we've driven before. Essentially, the acceleration pedal works as both acceleration and deceleration. You can use it with just one foot. So at about 20% depression, you'll go forward, it'll accelerate, but around 10 to 20%, it's more or less coasting. And then if you let off completely like I am right now, the vehicle will come to a complete stop. Very similar, in fact, to what we've seen with other vehicles that have brake regeneration. It's just you can't change the intensity. So in a lot of electric cars that we've tested, you can change it between 0 and 3, for example. That will change the intensity of your brake force regeneration. In this case, it's pretty much always on maximum. You have to use that pedal. So again, right off the bat, if you're starting out with this car for the first time, you're comparing it to a traditional internal combustion engine vehicle or pretty much any other electric vehicle out there, the sensation is weird. Because look, in a normal car, I'm going the speed limit, I let go. Oh, now all of a sudden we're braking. But it will take some time getting used to. I mean, I haven't mastered it myself. It's been a few days that I've been driving this. As you're coming to decelerate, you need to just let off the gas a little bit or let off the accelerator a little bit. You still do have a brake pedal, so don't worry. If you have to, you can use it, but I do try to use it without as much as possible. The vehicle won't hold itself. There's no automatic hold like you see in a lot of new vehicles today, so you would have to hold the brake down if you do need the vehicle to be completely stopped, but on a level surface, it will hold it, and if you even are on a decline, if the vehicle would roll backwards, it will stop it from rolling backwards. So you don't need to use the brake pedal, but again, it does take some getting used to. Now, how does the rest of the vehicle compare? First off, the first thing I noticed when I first sat in it, when I picked it up, is it is a little tight in here. The door cards do feel a little thicker than you might expect, similar to the Mercedes A-Class that we drove a few weeks ago, where I just was a little tighter in here. Normal people of normal size won't have any problem with this, and even I'm not uncomfortable in here. You can put your arm up on the top of the door card and you've got some space there, Overall visibility is very good. The windshield is huge, and there is a ton of space between where you're seated and where the windshield essentially begins, the furthest away from you. It is a massive amount of space between here and there, which gives you a strange sensation. Again, if you're used to driving a normal BMW, you're going to expect that you've got quite a bit of space between where you're seated and where the front of the car is. And I mean, it is still true. It's probably about the same space as maybe a 2 Series, but there's more windshield space here. There's more dash area. I guess you could throw things on there and use it as storage. There's a little cubby area underneath the iDrive screen. That's where I can put actually a full-size hardcover book. I like to read, so I'll toss that in there. There's another small area just beside, on the left side of the instrument cluster screen. I can put my sunglasses there. Plus you've got the storage bin underneath, the armrest, and even the glove box itself. So there's a lot of places you can put little things if you want. Good amount of storage in here. Door cards have quite a bit of storage space as well. Again, it's something to get used to. If you're coming from pretty much any other BMW, it is a new vehicle. It doesn't feel like anything else they've produced before. Even the steering wheel is very unique. So you're getting a very different experience. Think of this kind of like the new age Isetta. I mentioned we talk about the drive modes. By default, you start in comfort mode. It's the normal setup that you would expect. You can put the vehicle into Eco Pro mode. That limits the top speed to 130 kilometers, and it also reduces both the accelerator pedal sensitivity as well as your airflow. You get a little bit less airflow working in a more eco mode. Then if you go into full Eco Pro Plus, you're down to 90 kilometer maximum, and even further reduction. You can't even set the temperature anymore. Basically turns off the HVAC settings. So if you are driving in the summer, you want to have the windows down, that's the great time to use it. In this case, we're not going to. We're going to actually just keep it in comfort mode. I don't need to use it in Eco Pro mode because about 200 kilometers is more than what I need on a daily basis. And it's something that we talk about quite a bit when it comes to these electric cars. I know that people have range anxiety. They want to have more range so that, hey, I can go do all the stuff I think I normally need to do with a normal vehicle. But the reality is most people don't drive that much in a single day. Yeah, if you're going on a road trip, you're going to want to have more range. This is not a good vehicle to take somewhere like Ontario. You're going to use up those 7.2 liters of fuel pretty darn quickly if you're on the 401, which is one of the reasons why it is considered a mega city car as far as BMW is concerned, because that's the intended purpose. People are going to be buying this if you live in larger centers like Toronto or Montreal. Yeah, it works out here. There's no problems with it. In Quebec, this is a great vehicle just because the infrastructure is so good. Plus, you have level 3 charging because it is technically a proper electric vehicle, not the typical PHEVs that we normally test. So you have level 3 charging capabilities to be able to get it charged up way quicker. And then even on level 2, you really don't have any problems. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with it. It handles pretty well, it drives pretty well. It feels comfortable when you're on the road. Handling is actually surprisingly good. All of our stuff there is flying around in the back, but it has pretty good pickup. It's 170 horsepower. If you go with the i3S, you get 11 more horsepower and sport mode. Is it needed? Not really. I honestly think that this is pretty good for day-to-day use, and even driving my family around, the three of us, myself, my wife, and my 6-year-old, we're getting by no problem. I have no issues with the overall power or performance of this. I'm pretty happy. Yeah, I kind of had mixed feelings when I picked it up, but boy, oh boy, this is a nice little car. A little pricey, a little light on features. They can certainly improve it, but it still is a good step towards BMW's electrification, and this technology is being implemented across other vehicles now. So it's not just limited to the i3. We're going to be seeing a lot more with this, and I think that the next generation of BMW i vehicles will just look more normal. They'll be more like what we expect a car to be. They'll have more range and more features and more power. It's really exciting to be driving these cars today because we can see what the future has to offer down the road.
Let's talk energy economy for the 2020 BMW i3 Rex. We completed our 100-kilometer test loop in 16.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers in Eco Pro mode, while it was a little muggy out. By comparison, the only other full EV we've run through our test loop was the Kia Niro EV, and it completed it more efficiently at 15.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. We did a good mix of highway and in-town driving with the i3 during our week and finished off at 17.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers total, mostly in comfort mode, without using a single drop of fuel. The i3 also allows you to have the vehicle plugged in while running the climate systems, which is something we're ensuring that we test on all future electric vehicles. Let's talk likes and dislikes. First off, the power plant setup is a like for us, giving buyers added flexibility with their purchasing decisions. Right now, most PHEVs come with around 50 kilometers of electric range, with the mid-range cars like the Honda Clarity and Chevrolet Volt creeping up to the 100 kilometer mark. So a vehicle like the i3 with a 200 kilometer plus range and a backup generator might be an ideal setup for buyers looking for a safety net for their range anxiety. The environmental approach BMW has taken with the i3 is a unique front in the EV marketplace, and a lot of electric vehicles still incorporate a lot of the same materials used by internal combustion cars. BMW's headlights work incredibly well for such a small vehicle, providing excellent nighttime visibility with the added benefit of high beam assist. BMW has also thought about the little details when it comes to the doors and locks. You can decide whether or not the charging cable remains locked once the vehicle has charged to 100%, and the rear door handles aren't operable while the front doors are closed, meaning somebody can't accidentally try to open them. Finally, the i3 still lives up to the quality we expect to find from BMW, with precision build and assembly quality and a solid feel on the road. Now, there isn't much to dislike about the i3 Rex. Some might argue that this $60,000 price point is steep, but when you subtract the $6,900 in options, you're looking at the same price as a fully loaded consumer EV, though you lose out on the top-end range of some of the newest models. However, it still is a BMW. One complaint I had was with iDrive, and I feel that we've discussed this problem with other iDrive 6 systems, with considerable Bluetooth audio streaming problems where track skipping takes a while, and iDrive starts playing the first song on the device library instead of picking up where we left off. Considering the i3 hasn't changed much for 2020, I don't expect we'll see an upgrade to iDrive 7 for a little while longer. The backup camera also feels like an afterthought, though the image quality is good, it's just the angle and position are strange. Also, the lack of a heated steering wheel is a miss at this price point and something that BMW should have really included. Overall though, I'm really happy with the time I spent with the 2020 BMW i3 Rex. Nothing beats driving a BMW for an entire week and it only costing $9.18 in electricity.